I now have 3 o'clock. We're going to call the Strategic Planning Ad Hoc Committee meeting to order. Ms. Black, can you take the roll, please?
McBride. Mackey.
Here.
Newton. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is approval of minutes from our October 5th meeting. Motion.
Madam Chair, there was one Scrivener's error that I will share with the clerk's office, but apart from that, I move to approve.
And I'll second.
McBride. Mackey.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next item is adoption of the agenda. Second.
McBride. Mackey.
Yes.
Newton. Motion passed.
So item number 4 is items for discussion. We have 3 items today. Our first meeting was a true kickoff of the Strategic Ad Hoc Planning Committee, and since then there have been several initiatives or things from the timeline that have continued to take place. And so this first item for discussion is strategic planning timeline. We were given a timeline by our consultants, Baker Tilly, at our last meeting, and I believe they are on the line or via Zoom to give us an update on where we are in that current timeline.
And I believe they are on, Madam Chair. If you want me to kind of go down a couple of things that have happened, and then they could maybe chime in if there are any additional questions. So as of this past Friday, October 22nd, Baker Tilly had completed one-on-one interviews with 8 of council members. Also, they completed all of their interviews with the employee administration work groups. Currently, they're reviewing the input that they have received from both members of council and then director work groups to be included as a part of the discussion that will guide the strategic planning retreat. That retreat has been scheduled. I believe the dates have been sent out for November 15th on the calendar invites. It is scheduled to take place at the Graduate Inn at USC. It anticipates to be an all-day event led by Baker Tilly, who is the consultant for the strategic planning process. And then certainly the times and parking access, we're going to send that information out. And then from there, I'll turn it over for any questions that you have or for any more specific information that Baker Tilly may be able to add regarding the process and the associated timeline. So I think I saw Ms. Melanie on from Baker Tilly, who may be able to speak to that. Ms. Melanie, are you ready?
Yes, I'm on. I hope you all can hear me well. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Melanie Varghese from Baker Tilly. And just to add to Mr. Brown's comments, we are on track with our timeline as well as our budget. And we have conducted all of our interviews and our focus meetings at this point. And we are currently in preparation for the all-day strategic planning retreat held on Monday, November the 15th. So I'm happy to take any questions that you all may have for us.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Any other committee members or council members present have any questions?
So then based on that, does that mean that the very next step that will happen in the process is, well, the completion of the interviews and then coming together for the retreat on the 15th?
Correct.
So, ideally, yes, ma'am. We certainly have another brief update for you here, and depending on that, that could have some action, but notwithstanding, Ms. Newton, yes, that would be correct.
Thank you.
Ms. McBride.
Madam Chair, would you like that?
Ms. Black. Okay, hearing no other questions, if we could move on to item 4B, community survey update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee will recognize Ms. Kiefer She's been working directly with our survey group related to this item. She can give us a brief update on this matter. Ms. Kiefer, if you take to the podium, please.
Yes, turn on your mic, please.
Thank you. First time I've been up here in a while. I just want to give you an overview, real high-level overview. All right, thank you. Sorry. Just want to give you an overview of the survey. It was conducted by Probolsky Research October 18th through 21. It is concluded. We received very preliminary results this morning. We've not had a chance to look through them all. They surveyed 400 county residents. All of them were representative of the demographic makeup of the county. Let's see. They did it by phone, both landline and mobile, and online, with email and text that sent them to a web link. They did it in English and Spanish, so there were some Spanish speaking people who answered the survey. And on average, the online responses took about 17 minutes to complete the survey and about 20 minutes to complete it by phone. Our next steps are to have an internal work group meeting with the research firm on Thursday afternoon. We're meeting with them from 2 to 4. And what we'd like to ask from the body here is how and when you would like us to present the results to you. So if that could be considered. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you so much for your update.
Yeah.
I guess going back to Mr. Brown or Baker Tilly, knowing that there's going to be an internal meeting on Thursday to discuss the results, how or what is the time frame of which these results will be given to Baker Tilly so they can incorporate into what they need?
My understanding is that the survey information that we received, that we have provided to Baker Tilly, and so they can start looking into how they're going to incorporate that. Well, we receive the results, and we just forwarded it to them, so but they are in receipt of that. And if Ms. Melody could verify that, that would certainly be helpful for the committee.
Yes, we did receive the draft results, and as they are finalized, if we could also receive the final product, we would review it a little bit more in detail, especially as we prepare for our strategic planning retreat. We can take that into consideration.
Okay. I would request after your Thursday internal meeting that each member of council can receive a printed, if there's a summary or a summary report of the survey results, I think in a hard copy form, that would be acceptable.
Very good.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there are a few questions about the survey. First, that you surveyed about 400 county residents. And my question is, because I don't recall what the original plan was, is how does that fall in line with what you were targeting and expecting? And I know you also mentioned that you were able to have a representative demographic sample for the county, but did you have a wider survey than you expected, a smaller survey? Was it just what you expected? How does that compare?
Well, the target was to get 400 respondents. The research firm, based on the population and the demographics that we provided to them, they thought the 400 was a robust enough sample of the county, and we provided the demographic breakdown, and they identified people to target and ask the survey to who met those demographics. So it should be a very representative sampling of the county residents. Personally, I think that the survey was conducted far quicker than I anticipated. I thought it would take the full 2-week window we had offered to them, and they were able to do it in like 4 days. I think based on what they told me, most of them were invited by email. That was 50%, in text message 50%. Most folks completed it online.
Thank you. And then when we look at the demographic data, there are many, many factors that are included in demography.
Yep.
Is geography and representation across all our districts one of those factors?
Yes, ma'am. They have a geographic breakdown, which will be at the end of the survey results that you folks get. They range from between 6.5% in one district on up to 11.5. So it's around in the same neighborhood. They tried to, they knew we were very interested in getting breakdowns by districts, so they tried to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Kiefer.
Any other questions? Ms. McBride?
Madam Chair, I don't know whether you,
That is not for this committee.
it's not for this.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
There will be a second round, or there are meetings planned for the strategic, upcoming meeting.
So, item number C is our strategic planning retreat. We haven't got there yet,
Okay.
so that might be what, okay. All right, so if we don't have any other questions on B, then we will move on to item number C. And I know Mr. Brown hit on it, and thank you, Mrs. Kiefer, I appreciate it. I know, Mr. Brown, you hit on the retreat in your first update, but if you would talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So the date for the retreat is listed there. It is scheduled for November 15th. The plan is for that to be an all-day event, which will be led by the strategic planning consultants. So we would like for you to mark that on your calendars. You should have received the invitation from the clerk. That will be an opportunity for us all to come together with the consultant and for them to begin to walk us through some of the additional steps concerning the process. And certainly, if you would like, Madam Chair, we could have Ms. Melody give us a brief overview of what they anticipate happening on November 15th. So I'm getting a head shake. So Ms. Melody, if you could speak to the general overview of what we could expect to happen on November 15th, please, ma'am.
Sure, absolutely. So on that day, we do have a number of different activities that are planned, and really our approach is to have a hands-on approach of really engaging with council members as well as directors in order to conduct different visioning sessions. So we will bring different tools and templates and have everyone walking around the room to participate within our visioning activity for the day. So we have a few different steps as part of that process, and then we will work towards identifying and clarifying what the objectives and goals would be for the strategic plan.
Thank you. And Mr. Brown, I don't know if this is you or Baker Tilly, but can you give the committee an update on, okay, so we have this retreat, but explain what makes this a little different than our retreat that's happening in January and how the two work together?
Sure. So, ideally, this is kind of the developmental phase. So at this November retreat, ideally when we go into our regular retreat, we're then looking at a formulated plan that we could then begin to utilize as members of the council to the council staff in setting the expectations for how we're going to be doing various things with the organization in the actually upcoming budget year. Everything from including your ability to make decisions about how you want to target funding and to how you want, as we have gone through this process, to the targeted services that we're going to be focusing on. It will kind of help set those priorities so that throughout the year, between the councils and its directives to staff, we know, what we should be putting our energies into. So not to get ahead of the process, but let's just say normally right now, we have information that may come through the staff that come through an agenda to a committee to council. So in that process, it certainly could be possible if the county has already identified that we're going to be focusing on A, B, and C. If we get a D request, while ultimately council may receive that D request through the process, we will be able to say to the potential provider as well as to council as a part of our conversation, that this particular item that's come before you, is not one of your A, B, C, or D priorities. And so therefore, staff does not recommend, we take this up right now. Just as an example of, how we would look to plan to be able to do this between the strategic planning process that's happening from the visioning and the development between the November 15th meeting and then the actual plan design, if you will, that we will utilize to formulate how we actually behave as an organization from the council to staff. Did that answer the question, Ms. Mackey?
Yes, thank you. Ms. McBride?
Madam Chair, due to no fault of the consultants or to me, we were not able to coordinate our schedules. I was not able to give the input, and I did offer to submit some write-ins regarding issues of concern. But at the strategic planning retreat, will I be allowed that opportunity for my input, or because I don't want that to be affected by the fact that I could not coordinate with the consultants for the interviews?
So, Ms. McBride, I believe, and certainly we have Ms. Melanie on the line right now, I would like to think that it's not too late for you to still provide some input. I can certainly have Baker Tilly address that right now. But the strategic planning process on the 15th, as articulated by Ms. Melanie, we do expect everyone to participate in that particular process. But certainly there's individual feedback that you have or input. I think you can still provide that even at this time.
Well, that satisfies my question, because I wanted to make sure that I would have the opportunity to have issues that I had concerns with brought before during the November 15th meeting.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, anything else for that day?
No, ma'am, not from, at this time. No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Mendelski.
Thank you. Just to calm any fears that Councilwoman McBride may have, I also had that problem, and they said, well, when do you want to meet? And I said, how about Friday morning at 8 o'clock? They said, we'll be here. So I think you'll be able to work it out with it. They were very accommodating.
Well, I said that they were.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if we could, Mr. Brown or Tamar, if we could, Ms. Black, sorry, if we could send an email out again to all of council, just reminding, I know several people participated in the 30-minute interview, but if there's any other thoughts that they had afterwards, they can submit those via email. So if we could just send that out to council with the email address, reminding them that it's not too late to provide any additional thoughts or schedule a call with Baker Tilly before the retreat. Ms. Newton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And speaking of timing, one of the questions that we often have as we get towards major council events where we're all there is what is the anticipated schedule where we will receive any agenda, or there may not be an answer to that yet, but I will just take this opportunity to request as much advance receipt of documentation as possible, just to make sure that we're all prepared to fully participate.
Understood.
Item number 5 on the agenda is next steps. And so I think we've informed everyone of next steps as far as the update on the community survey that will come out to all of council, as well as the upcoming full-day strategic planning retreat. After the planning retreat, Mr. Brown or Melanie, can you provide kind of the next steps after that leading up to our January in-person retreat?
Sure. Ms. Melanie, you want to take that question first, please, ma'am?
Absolutely. So following our leadership planning retreat, our team, Baker Tilly, will continue to document any final observations. We will be creating the Richland County strategy map and documenting our final operating objectives and initiatives. And we will finalize our strategic plan and coordinate with you all on when we can present our final deliverables within that December timeframe. And that should be provided in in advance so that you all are able to take that into consideration during the January budgeting retreat.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from committee? We're on item number 6.
Move to adjourn.
McBride?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Motion passed.